All right, let's jump right in and talk about a really powerful solution for today's multi-cloud world, BigQuery Omni. So to really get what BigQuery Omni does, you first have to understand the problem it was built to solve. And honestly, it's a challenge that pretty much every big company is dealing with right now. And this pretty much sums it up, right? This is the reality for most of us. You've got data over here in one cloud, more data over there in another, and what you end up with are these giant silos. It becomes a total nightmare trying to juggle different security rules, different tools, and just trying to keep track of it all. And let's be clear, this is not some niche issue. A whopping 80% of enterprises are using more than one cloud provider. It's not the exception anymore, it's the standard way of doing business. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How on earth are you supposed to get a single coherent picture of your business when your data is scattered all over the place? Well, the answer means we have to flip the old way of thinking on its head. It's a totally new approach. You bring the analytics to where your data already is. And that, right there, is the core idea behind BigQuery Omni. Think of it as this super flexible, multi-cloud analytics tool that lets you query your data across different clouds, all while you stay inside the BigQuery UI that your team already knows and loves. This visual explains it perfectly. You, the user, you're sitting comfortably in Google Cloud, writing your queries like you always do. But behind the scenes, BigQuery securely sends that query over to run directly on the data in, say, AWS or Azure. All the complexity? It's handled for you. The experience is totally seamless. So here's the fundamental shift. For years, we've had these massive, expensive, and slow projects to move petabytes of data to our analytics tools. BigQuery Omni just flips that around. It sends the analytics engine to your data. The control plane in Google Cloud manages the whole thing, but the heavy lifting, the actual computation, happens right where your data lives. Okay, so we've got the how. It's a pretty cool concept, but what can you actually do with all this cross-cloud power? Let's take a look. First off, if you do need to bring some data into BigQuery, you can do it with a surprisingly simple SQL statement. No need to build out some complex data pipeline. You can just load data directly from S3 or Azure Storage. It's that easy. But this is where it gets really mind-blowing. Look at this. It's a single query that joins a table you have in Google Cloud with data that is physically sitting in AWS. This is true real-time cross-cloud analysis, and you didn't have to move a single byte of that AWS data beforehand. That's a game changer. And of course, you've got to think about security and governance. This visual shows how you can manage everything from one central place, a single pane of glass. You apply your security policies and access controls in BigQuery, and they work for data that never even leaves its home in AWS or Azure. Now that's unified governance. So you've got a few different tools in your toolkit here, and this table kind of helps you figure out which one to use when. If you just need a quick one-off analysis joining data, go for the cross-cloud joins. Got a huge data set you need to migrate? The load command is your best bet. And for those dashboards and reports that need constantly fresh data, well, that's what materialized views are perfect for. All right, let's step back for a second. What's the big picture here? Why is this approach so important? Why does it change everything? It really boils down to 4 huge benefits. First, performance. You get answers way faster because you're not waiting to move data around. Second, cost. You get to skip those really expensive cross-cloud data transfer fees. Third, security. Your data stays put, safe and sound, right in its own environment. And finally, simplicity. You manage the whole shebang from one serverless interface. When you get right down to it, it all comes back to this one really powerful idea. Stop moving your data to the analytics. Start bringing your analytics to your data. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. If you could analyze all of your data, no matter where it lived, with just a single query, what's the first question you would ask?